My name is Lily Madwhip and there's nothing wrong with my brain. The nice lady at the hospital check-in desk has really curly hair and she smiles at me. Lily, what a nice name. Is it with one L or two? That's a weird question. If my name had one L, I'd be Liy, and that just sounds strange. I don't even know how to say that. Unless it was ILY, but then I'd sound like I'm sick all the time. Imagine being called ILY Madwhip, the sickest girl in 5th grade. That would be so embarrassing. I try to tell her my name again, just to make sure she heard me right. Lily, I say slowly. She nods and has big glasses on. Her glasses are way bigger than her eyes, and they keep sliding down her nose. They're hanging on a chain, so maybe that's why. But I wonder if she can even see through them. Maybe her eyesight is so bad that she doesn't notice. What's the point of having glasses if you can't see through them? I hope I never have to wear glasses. I'd probably lose them all the time. The lady keeps asking me about how to spell my name. Yes, dear, I heard you. Do you spell it with one L or two? She asks again. I'm getting a bit frustrated. Two, of course, I tell her. But then she spells my name with 3 L's. That's not right. Luckily, my mom finishes her phone call and comes over to help. My daughter's name is Lillian Madwhip. She's scheduled for an MRI. Mom sets things straight. I decide to check out the other people in the waiting room. There's a lady with blonde hair and her son near the doors that open by themselves. The boy has a bandage on his right eye. Pachar, my friend who knows a lot of things, could probably explain why, but he's not here. Still, I can guess what's going to happen to the boy. He'll see a doctor who will take off the bandage, shine a light in his face, make him lie down, put some medicine drops in his eye, and his mom will hold him while he screams. After all that, they'll put the bandage back on. On the other side, there's a man with a face that looks like a weasel. I've never seen a real weasel, but I know people use the word to describe someone with small, beady eyes and a long face. This guy has both, so I'm calling it a weasel face. Oh no, he's looking at me now. I quickly pretend I'm really interested in this plant nearby. But wait, I don't think it's a real plant. I thought hospitals had plants to give people oxygen, but this one is just for looks. Mom calls me over, and the lady at the front desk has a wristband for me. It has my name spelled all fancy, my birth date, and some codes that only doctors and nurses probably understand. We find a seat and wait. It feels like forever. I try not to pay too much attention to the other people because, in a hospital, thinking about what procedures they might be having is kinda gross. I really didn't need to know that stuff. Yuck! My mom grabs a magazine about keeping houses neat. It's not like she's super into that, but she pretends to be. I think she just likes looking at pictures of other people's houses and then quietly judging my dad because our place doesn't look like them. But, to be fair, my dad does a lot around the house. He digs up my dead pets, takes care of the garden, and writes sad songs, dirges. So, he's not just lazing around. I wonder if he's chilling on the couch right now while we're at the hospital. I check out a science magazine. There are cool pictures of monkeys doing monkey things, and I learn that some person got really close to them in the jungle to take those photos. It seems like you can get a job just squatting in the jungle and snapping pictures of animals. That sounds awesome. I start thinking about saving up money to buy a camera and become an animal photographer. Or maybe I could be one of those folks who take pictures at crime scenes. The monkeys in this magazine story seem super happy that the photographer is hanging out with them. I take a break from my monkey article and notice the weasel-faced man staring at me from the other side of the waiting room. He looks back at his forms, scribbles some more, and then takes the clipboard to the lady with the big glasses. I keep my eyes on him because something seems off. But then I see he's going to talk to a doctor in a white coat, like all doctors have. They're going to have a grown-up conversation, so I start singing to myself in my head to distract from predicting what'll happen. The weasel guy, after a while, a big lady with really short black hair, calls us in. She's in a green hospital uniform. "Mrs. Maddock, we're ready for Lillian." "It's Mad Whip," I correct her. I put my monkey science magazine away and follow Mom and the nurse through the swinging doors. The hospital is like a maze. Halls go everywhere, with offices and closets as dead ends. I bet the center of the hospital is where the Minotaur lives. We read about it in an old story at school. It lived in a giant maze, and people who went in would get lost, and then it would eat them. A Minotaur is like a human but with a cow for a head. Not a whole cow, just the head. We reach a little room with a bed covered in paper to keep away germs. There's a paper dress folded on the table. Hospitals really like paper. "You need to change into this gown, sweetie," the nurse tells me, "and take off any jewelry or metal piercings." The reason I have to change into the paper dress is because an MRI machine uses big magnets. Mom explained it to me earlier. Those magnets are so strong they can pull any metal right off you. I imagine if a Minotaur had an MRI, it might yank the metal ring out of its nose. I wonder why cows even wear nose rings. Maybe it's just the punk cows. Anyway, I don't have any jewelry or piercings, so I should be okay. Just in case, I brought some quarters in case I have to pay the swear jar. They're a bit sweaty because I had to hold them, no pockets for me. Mom is keeping them safe for me. After the nurse leaves, I change into the paper dress and sit on the table, swinging my feet because there's not much else to do. Mom stays quiet, probably worried about what the results might be. She thinks they'll say my head is full of nothing but tumors, but I know that won't happen because my head is definitely not all tumors. "When do I get Pachar?" I ask. Mom looks up. "If you behave yourself, we'll talk about your toy when we get home." I catch on. She didn't say I'd get him back, she said we'd discuss him. "You said I could have him when this is over." "Not discuss him. We'll talk about it when we get home," Mom says, and I'm not happy about it. I want to yell and tell her she's breaking her promise, but I know if I throw a tantrum, she might use that as an excuse to keep Pachar away. This feels like a test. She's trying to make me mad so she can say I don't deserve my toy. I won't fall for it. Instead, I just stare at her and think about throwing a tantrum in my head. Mom stares back, and I bet she's picking up on the pictures I'm sending her with my brain. It makes me smile, and she smiles back. The nurse in the green uniform comes back and asks Mom a bunch of questions about my health, even if I'm pregnant. Then she says it's time to go. I give Mom a hug because I know she's scared, and follow the nurse through a bunch of halls until we reach a huge room with a giant machine. That's gotta be the MRI. It looks like something from a sci-fi movie, with a table for me to lay on, and it feels like I'm about to get shot into another dimension through a big metal donut. Or maybe it's turning me into a donut. I'd be the worst tasting donut, probably jelly-filled. I really hate jelly-filled donuts. The nurse tells me it might feel cramped, especially if I'm scared of tight spaces. But I have to stay still. Then she drops a bomb. "You're going to get an injection of contrast." Wait, what? Injection? When did needles become part of the deal? Nobody said anything about needles. Can I just drink it? I ask. "Oh no, dear," turns around and glances at me again. I imagine him with whiskers, then realize I'm staring and remind myself to blink and go back to my monkeys. It's not his fault he has a weasel face, I guess. Well, there goes 1/4 to the swear jar. The nurse doesn't even take the needle out, she leaves it stuck in my arm. I really don't like her now. I send her angry thoughts while lying on the bed. She brings over some strange machine with swirly tubes that she attaches to the other end of the needle poking out of my arm. I can't even look at it, or I feel like I'm going to gag. Into the metal donut I go. I hold my breath and think about Pachar. I also wonder what Meredith is doing at school without me today. I hope she doesn't accidentally burn anything. It must be tough not being able to get mad without setting things on fire. I'd be burning stuff all the time. My arm starts feeling really warm. I can't help but wonder why that lady in black was hanging out at the mall. There's just too much going on all at once. It feels like my head might explode. Maybe I really do have a tumor. The MRI machine makes a lot of noise, like someone banging around metal grocery carts. Dad calls them box carts, but Mom doesn't like that word. I use it to annoy her sometimes. Oh my gosh, how much longer am I going to be in here? The waiting room felt long, but at least I had the Monkey Science magazine to read. I wish there was something to read or watch, but there's nothing. Finally, I come out, and it's all done. I'm about ready to claw that thing out of my arm, but the nurse takes it out for me and puts a bandage over the spot. I can see the hole they poked in me. She has me sit in a wheelchair and takes me out into the hall. I can walk, I tell her. Just relax, the nurse says, then leaves me in the chair and goes into one of the rooms. Why did she leave me here instead of taking me back to where my clothes are? She didn't even say if she's coming back. What am I supposed to do? I don't even know where I am right now. I'm starting to feel kind of lightheaded. Oh no, did they find tumors? What are you doing here? A man's voice comes from behind me. I turn to see who it is. It's the weasel-faced man from the waiting room. He's looking at me and smiling. Since I don't know him, I stay quiet. I blink so he doesn't think I'm staring, then look back to where the nurse disappeared. I hear him walking over because his shoes make a clop-clop sound with each step. He stops right beside me. Lilly Madwhip, he says. Don't look back. Maybe he heard your name in the waiting room. I'm sorry. Lillian Alexandra Madwhip. What? Oh no, he knows my full name. Well, that doesn't really give him power over me, it's just something I thought about. But how does he know my middle name? Maybe it was on one of the forms my mom filled out. I feel him looking down at me. He's really tall and thin, but all I notice is he's wearing boots with pointy toes. I'm not going to look up at him. I'll just stare at the floor, and maybe he'll think I'm asleep or something. Oh right, I just looked at him a moment ago. Maybe I have that disease where you suddenly fall asleep. I could start snoring. Oh, you're not supposed to talk to strangers. My name's Felix. Do you want to know my last name? Maybe I don't have one. Would that surprise you? I pretend I'm a statue. I'm not really here. I know what would surprise you. What if we talked about Pachar? Felix says, and I finally look at him. He grins, and even his teeth look like weasel teeth. I can't help thinking it, his last name must be Weaselman. Felix Weaselman. But how does he know? How do I know about Pachar? Felix glances down the hall, checking if anyone's coming. He scares me. It feels like he's reading my mind. What am I thinking now? Potatoes. Just because. Potatoes. Read that, Felix Weaselman. No, I'm not a mind reader. I just know people well, and I know all their secrets. Do you know where Pachar is? I whisper. I'm afraid to speak too loudly, I don't know why. I almost don't want him to hear me. I just want the nurse to come back and we'll meet my mom. Mom knows where Pachar is. Felix kneels next to me and puts a hand on my wheelchair arm. Even his fingers look like weasels. Not like weasels, but weasel fingers. Not that weasels have fingers, I guess. If a weasel turned human, it might name itself Felix Weaselman and start scaring kids at the hospital. Oh no, maybe that's what's happening. I'm sorry, Lilly. I don't know where Pachar is. But I know about him. And you. You see things before they happen, don't you? Who are you? I ask. He's not a doctor, that's for sure. He's wearing a long coat with fur on the edge of it. I bet it's weasel fur. Oh my gosh, everything about this man is weasels. I told you, I'm Felix. I'm like you, Lilly, he grins, showing his weasel-like teeth. I half expect him to have a long, thin mustache and twirl it with his fingers, like in cartoons. I have a gift, just like you, and a totem that connects me to the divine. I don't know what that means. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a silver locket on a chain. I bet that thing would have ripped right through his coat if he went in the MRI. There's a hook on the side, and he unlatches it, and it opens. Inside is a photo of a boy. He's got short brown hair like someone held a bowl over his head and just cut around the edge. He's smiling, and his teeth kinda look weaselish, even for a kid. This is my son, Joseph. You can call him Joey. Hi Joey, I say to the boy in the locket. Felix snaps it shut. He can't hear you, unfortunately. He passed away some months back. He sounds sad, like my dad when he talks about Roger. But you know who can hear you, Lilly? Raziel. He's my connection to the divine. What does that mean? He's my angel. Like Pachar is for you. Why don't you say hello to Raziel? I say hello to Raziel in my head. There's no response. I look at Felix, and he's watching me really closely, like he's expecting me to say something. What kind of angel is Raziel? I ask him. He holds the locket up to my face. Why don't you ask him yourself, Lilly? Raziel, are you an angel? I ask the locket. There's no response. Felix stares at me. So what did he say? What's Raziel the angel of, Lilly? I don't know, I whisper. I feel scared. I don't understand what's happening, or if anything Felix is saying is true. He's not talking to me. Maybe this is some secret test my mom set up to see if I really believe in angels. Felix stands up and puts the locket back in his coat. He doesn't talk to me either. Not that he could. But I know he's there. That's my gift. I know things. Not things like Pachar knows. I can't see the future like you. But I know everything else. I know the things people don't want me to know. I know secrets. I don't have any secrets. I don't think I do, anyway. I'm an open book. Honestly, I tell people all my secrets, and most of the time they don't even believe me. Felix steps back, and I realize how close he had gotten to me that whole time. It feels like I'm suddenly in an open field with flowers. Like yellow flowers. I want to jump up from my wheelchair and run through the flowers. Freedom, that's what it feels like. He was so close, I didn't even realize it was starting to feel like I was being crushed in a can crusher. Lilly the tin can. No, Lilly, you don't like keeping secrets, do you? He says. I'm going to be honest with you too. I'm not from around here. I used to travel all over. Do you like carnivals? Have you ever been on a tilt-a-whirl? Gone to the top of a Ferris wheel and looked down? I'm a mentalist. That's a stage performer, kind of like a magician. Do you like magic? Sometimes. Who doesn't like magic? Boring people. And scientists. I would use my gift of knowing people's secrets and tell them things they have forgotten about themselves. Where they left their keys, that sort of thing. Or maybe they'd done something they didn't want others to know about. Those were fun to reveal. Any secret, I would know it. Like where your brother Roger hid something valuable from you. Oh my gosh, he knows where Roger hid my foil Charizard. Where? Oh, I don't actually know that, dear. I know that your brother hid something from you, but to know where, I'd need to meet Roger, and unfortunately, he's not here, is he? Rats. Where did my nurse go? Anyway, Felix continues, Joey, my son, was an assistant in the show. He was the most wonderful boy. You'd have loved him, really. He would have believed you about Pachar. Like your friend Jamal. He believed me about Raziel. The heat in my head and arm are going away. I feel a lot more clear thinking. What happened to him? You know what happened to him. Suddenly, Felix isn't smiling anymore. I don't know what he's talking about. Did he tell me, and I missed it? Did I read it somewhere? No, someone told me something. He keeps staring at me. Oh, is he doing that thing I did to my mother? He's trying to send his thoughts into my... Meredith. Meredith happened. Meredith, I say. Felix nods. He looks like he just ate a really yucky sandwich. It's as if he's trying to suck his weasel teeth into his face or something. Down the hall, I finally see the nurse coming around the corner with my mom. I wonder how she teleported from that dead-end room to wherever she just came from. They don't seem to notice this tall, thin, weasel-faced man hovering over me. Mom, hurry! I came here looking for information on her, Felix whispers. His voice doesn't sound cheerful anymore. It's almost like he wants to snarl. His teeth are clenched together, and he's saying everything through them. But instead, I found you. You don't have to be afraid, my dear. I'm going to find Meredith. I found her once, I'll find her again. Somebody needs to protect the rest of us from her. He pauses and looks over his shoulder. Do you see somebody? Then turns and smiles at me, but it doesn't seem like a happy smile. There's nobody there. The hallway is empty. I was seeing things before they happened again. He puts a hand on my shoulder. It's going to be okay. I'll see you soon. Then he walks off in the other direction down the hall and back into the maze where he came from. I'm shaking, and I can't stop. Something about Felix Weaselman terrifies me. It wasn't just his weasel face, it's like I finally met somebody who I ask crazy. Other kids call me Mad Lily sometimes, especially buttholes like Jeffrey Baker. But they haven't met anyone like Felix. He was so calm and seemed normal, except for the whole part about knowing my secrets. I wonder if that's even true. I wonder if there's really an angel in his locket, and if so, why didn't it speak to me? Mom and the nurse finally show up for real a few minutes later and take me back to my clothes so I can change. I do it as fast as I can so we can get out of there. Mom had put my quarters in her purse. She gives them to me. I tell her she's going to need to keep a couple. In the car, she asks me how I'm feeling, if my vision is fuzzy or anything. I tell her I'm fine. I don't tell her about Felix. I don't tell her about Raziel. And I definitely don't tell her about Meredith. I don't know what I can tell her anymore. I need to think about things on my own. What I really need is to talk to Pachar, and I know if I start bringing this stuff up with her, I might not get him back. I just hope that weasel-faced guy Felix doesn't go to my school today. At home, Dad is in his workroom. He was probably writing a dirge. He does that. Mom tells me to sit at the dining room table and wait. I wonder what we're having for dinner. Probably something that's going to make me want to vomit. I wonder if I can convince them to order pizza if I tell them that the medicine they injected me with made me feel funny. Mom comes back with Dad and Pachar. Pachar, where were you? Pachar tells me he's sorry for the things he knows I've had to deal with alone. He says that sometimes we face things alone because we have to in order to become stronger. He says that I feel like I'm getting a lecture from my parents. Oh, I am. They're talking too. But I'm not even listening to that because I'm too busy being giddy to see Pachar again.